Hello, my sewing friends. This is my collaboration making the Mountain View jeans from Itch to Stitch with Stephanie from Stephanie Farrell Focus. I'm Jen, and this is my sewing room where all the cool jeans get made. I decided that I wanted to make Mountain View jeans from Itch to Stitch. This is a pattern for a pair of jeans that has an elastic waist, but they look like jeans, but they're boot cut too. And that meant a lot to me because my favorite pair of jeans is a pair of Levi's that are boot cut, but they have that elastic waistband. So since I was making a pair, and so was Stephanie at Stephanie Farrell Focus, who is a good friend, we thought we would both talk about our experiences with this pattern and the changes that we made and why and all of the things. So I'm going to talk a lot about her, process, and she's going to talk a little bit about mine too when she does her video. So I will direct you to, right after you watch this, go watch her video. And I just always think that's such a great thing because different people have different experiences with a pattern, and it's good to know all of the information, at least as much as you can get before you make a pattern, so that you'll go in knowing, this person made this kind of an adjustment. Do I need to make that adjustment? So yeah, I like this pattern a lot. I really do. And I don't know that I have heard anything bad about it. One of the things that is unique with this pattern when it comes to jeans is that it has a seam down the back of the leg. I think it's a great feature when it comes to fit. Man, makes your legs look like $1,000,000. The instructions were really easy to follow, and I like the way that Kenneth Wong does her instructions. I like this indie company. I think she's excellent in the way that she teaches you along the way, because I think she uses a lot of traditional techniques that are very, very tried and true, really good ways to do things. And yet she puts a modern spin on those too. So yeah, high praise for this pattern company. We both, Stephanie and I made a lot of changes to these jeans. First off, sizing. I watched Stephanie's video, I think it was a Friday Sews, where she talked a little bit about what she was doing at the time. And she said that she'd made a muslin of the Mountain View jeans and that she ended up finding that she needed to size down. And she did that because she based the size on her hip measurement. And then she made a different size for her waist measurement. I made my muslin out of a pair of jeans, and I made them based on the waist measurement. Well, that was a mistake. And I was glad when I heard Stephanie say that, just kind of in passing in her Friday Sews video, because I thought, wow, I probably need to pay better attention to that and maybe go from my hip size. And to be honest, I think that's a far better way to gauge your size with this pattern, because your hips are the big deal with this pattern. Your waist, you can adjust that with elastic because it's an elastic waist, but your hips are going to determine the way the legs fit, the way your behind looks in these jeans. So I think that's a much better way to gauge your size. Something that did surprise me was that this pattern has negative ease in the whole, hip area. And I thought that was odd. But I don't know why I thought it was odd. I mean, most jeans fit you pretty close, and these do too. So there you go. Since I made my muslin based on the waist measurement, it was way big. So when I decided to size down, I actually went down 2 sizes. And I was so afraid that was going to mess it up and make them too small. But no, they fit amazingly. Stephanie and I both changed the way that we did the elastic at the top of these jeans. She didn't even bother to put the elastic in. She just used the stretch from the denim that we used. And it does call for denim with at least 25% stretch. That's a stretchy denim. Instead of doing the small elastic around the top of the waistband, instead what I did was I used 2-inch elastic and I cut the waistband down. So my waistband was almost half the width. You can tell right here. Now, I love that because it's just like my Levi's. And I just feel like because I'm short-waisted, I feel like that's enough for me. I think for a lot of people whose waistline is further away from their hips, I think that wider waistband probably does work better. Because these are, I wouldn't call them high-waisted, I'd call them a mid-rise, but yeah, I think that might work better for some people to just keep that waistband, maybe narrow it a little bit, but not much. But for me, it was far better that I made it much more narrow, like half the size. When I did make these, I did top stitch them. You can kind of see that I used a gold thread. I did not use top stitching thread, which is made specifically for jeans. You have to use a bigger needle with a bigger eye, or a needle that's made, a machine needle that's made for top stitching, because that thread is really thick. And it's made really thick because traditionally when you make jeans, you make them out of a heavy denim. Well, I tried that and I didn't like it. So what I did was make some, I just tried some samples on a piece of this denim. And I did several rows with the regular top stitching thread. And what I was finding was no matter what I did in terms of adjusting it, I couldn't get the bobbin thread right. And so I had some other gold thread from another project I had done, a dress that I'd made. So I liked the color, even though it wasn't as dark as the top stitching thread. But I liked the color and I liked the look of it. And so I just got another spool of that. And another thing I did was, because I have two machines, I did construction on one and then I just set the other one up for top stitching, which was so nice. If you have two machines, then that would be a great way to do your top stitching, because you're not constantly having to switch and rethread your machine. Stephanie did take hers in to fit. I instead made this big long list of measurements. I measured my Levi's and I went off the pattern for the Itch to Stitch Mountain Views, and I kind of measured the difference. And I looked at a whole lot of little intricate measurements, like the distance from the pocket to the side seam and the pocket to the center back. These are back pockets. The width, and same thing on the front. I measured the rise, I measured the crotch curve. I noted all of these differences, and I did not change the crotch curve, but I might experiment with that in the future, because I think that this pattern is a great just pants pattern. So I made these changes. I cut mine 2 inches longer on the hem, and that was perfect because I was able to do a 1.5 inch hem, which, you know, they just are plenty long enough, not too short, perfect. I redrew the pockets on the front of mine. These, I wanted them to be just like my Levi's. So these were not quite as wide. So I made them wider. I just cut this curve much wider. I redrew it. Would I do that again? I don't think so. I think I would leave it the way it was, because what I find is that these tend to, because they're wider, they're not quite as tight. You know, they don't lay as flat to my body as I would like. I think, all things considered, that's a design change that I made that I kind of wish I hadn't. I added 1/2 inch to the back yoke, and I did this, and I also added it to the front, and I did it to the top edge of the back yoke. And the reason I did that was because I knew I was going to make a more narrow waistband, and I needed that little bit of extra on the yoke to kind of raise up where it would hit me. And I was surprised that I didn't need any more than that, but that was plenty enough, just 1/2 inch. So on the back pockets, I looked at the pattern and I kind of laid them out, and I noticed that the pockets on my Levi's were much smaller, like 1/2 inch smaller all around. So I cut a template using that pocket, and I used that instead. And I also moved it a little closer into the center back seam and a little higher up to the yoke. I kind of used those measurements based on the Levi's. And once I got them done, I kind of think I probably should have raised them a little higher, but it's fine. I'm not going to worry about it. And then I played around with all kinds of designs to put on the back pockets. And so I ended up opting for just 3 lines of stitching, which is kind of boring, but I don't know. I kind of like it. The other thing that I did that was really a departure from the actual pattern was that I put in a tummy panel. I used some ITY knit, a scrap that I had from a dress that I made, and it's very stretchy, very stretchy. It doesn't really go with the pockets, but it was what I had. And that was something that I copied from my Levi's. I liked that feature because I think it pulls me in a little bit. It's just enough. And I made it, I don't know how wide this is. I just kind of eyeballed it based on the measurement of the panel in my Levi's. And then I just kind of sewed it into the waistband. I serged it in and sewed it on the side seams, and that was fine. So overall, I love these. I think this is a great pattern. If you want to make a comfortable pair of jeans, but also have the option to make something in a different stretch fabric, like a ponte or a stretch sateen or a stretch twill, this is a great pattern for that. It's just, it fits so nicely. Now, like I said, I do want to experiment with it a little bit and kind of flatten out that, well, flatten? Is that what I want to do? Make the crotch curve more of an L like my Levi's are and see if that changes the fit at all. Now, I don't know if it will because of that back seam down the back of the leg. Because it just changes the fit. And God, it's such a genius way to do it. And that's it. I love my jeans. Stephanie loves her jeans. We both made changes, but they were changes that made it fit us, our specific bodies. So I really hope that you give this pair of jeans a try. If you're up for making some jeans, I think it's less complicated than a pair that would have a waistband and the zipper, the fly front zipper, and you know, all the hardware that goes with it. I don't know that it's really a beginner pattern, but it's certainly less complicated than a pair of standard jeans. So I hope you give it a try. So let me know what you think if you've made these jeans, what you thought of the pattern. And Stephanie, you know I love you. This was fun to do. So that's it for now for me, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.